So in today's video, I decided just all of a sudden, because Pokemon ZA, Legends ZA, is just around the corner coming out next year, probably early next year, probably first quarter if I had to guess, even though we haven't seen much on it still. I wanted to do a tier list on all of the mainline Pokemon games. Legends Arceus isn't on the list though. I will add it though. And I wanted to rank each and every one of the Pokemon games that have come out that are like the mainline games. Okay, so I'm going to try to go in order from Gen 1 to Gen 9. Are we at 9? Oh my gosh, we might be at 9, I think, now. Anyways, we're going to go through all of them. I think I'm going to try going in order, despite these not being quite in order. Now, we're going to start with Pokemon Red and Blue. I see Red and Blue right here. Because they started the entire Pokemon fandom and community in general, I don't want to put them in S tier, because there are, personally, I think there are better ones than those, but I'm going to put them in A tier, Red and Blue. I'm also going to go with Pokemon Yellow in A tier as well, as I think it's a lot similar, despite Pikachu following you. And now, I don't remember everything from the stories of these games, I will warn you. I'm just going by what I kind of remember, as I haven't played some of these in a really long time, but I grew up with Pokemon and all these games, and I still really enjoy them. Gen 1 is just so great in so many ways. Just the original 3 games are just, and in Japan, Pokemon Green as well. They're just some kind of crazy magic that they eventually just improved upon in the future with the future games. You can say, how dare you not put that in S tier? Well, I'm not putting it in S tier because I feel like, although they were the very first ones on the Game Boy, they are older games, you know, really old, but they were generational for its time on the original Game Boy. Maybe I'd put them in S tier if Nintendo, or I should say Game Freak, would put these games on the Switch, you know? I mean, they did put them on the DS after all. Maybe put some Pokemon games on the Switch that are the older ones. That might be a nice thing to do. Now, going on to Generation 2, which was Silver and Gold. I see Heart Gold. I see Gold right here. I didn't play a lot of Gold and Silver. I mean, I played them, but like, I don't know if I ever finished them, if I'm going to be honest. Same with Heart Gold or Soul Silver. I feel like I never finished those games. But I'm going to put them, I'm also going to put them in A tier. They're pretty solid, Pokemon games, I will say. I don't know where Silver even is right now. There it is. They're probably really just an improvement upon the original Generation 1 games, to be honest. Like, in a way, they're kind of like a direct sequel, and they really did. I'm gonna put them in front here of the original 3 because I like them more than the original 3, despite me not finishing them and finishing Red or Blue. I have both, and I also have Yellow. I think I have all of these actually. Because I was collecting them. I don't have an original copy of Crystal because it's a little more expensive. I just have a knockoff version. But Crystal, I'm going to put that above those. Actually, I'm going to put Crystal in S tier. Crystal is a pretty top-notch Pokemon game for the original Game Boy. Well, Game Boy Color. For the Game Boy, original Game Boy like era, I think Crystal was top-notch when it came to Pokemon. For the OG Game Boy era, I think it really was like peak Pokemon. It was like the best of all of these, in my opinion. I think Crystal's pretty fantastic of a game. Although, like I will say, like I said, these generations were more before my time, and I played them later on. Finished Gen 1, never really finished Gen 2, but I've dabbled in them. But I do have the knowledge to know that Crystal's a really good game, for sure. Now going into Generation 3, if I can find them. First, we're going to go, before we go into Generation 3, we got Leaf Green and Fire Red. And they're just an improvement upon what those original 3 games were. Just kind of remade. And I think they're up here, you know. I think they're up in A tier. I really do. I think they're solid remakes of Generation 1. I think that the Game Boy Advance era did some really good stuff. That was just the start of the Game Boy Advance era, and I think that they did some really good things there with the remakes. They were pretty solid remakes in my eyes. Now, Going into Generation 3. Generation 3 was my real introduction to Pokemon. And I have to say, if you've never played Pokemon before, these are probably the games I would recommend you start with. These are S-tier games. Ruby and Sapphire are just... They're so good. They're so good. However, there's one better. Emerald. If I'm going to recommend any Pokemon game for someone to start with, it's going to be Emerald. It's going to be Emerald. Emerald is peak Pokemon. Like insanely good game. Insanely good. So I'm going to recommend Emerald hands down as like anyone's first introduction to Pokemon if they want to go with an older game. If they want to go with one a little bit newer, we'll get there. But Emerald is hands down S tier, one of the best Pokemon games ever made. It's so good. Like story-wise, the Pokemon designs from Generation 3, the anime, like you name it, the Pokemon cards, like everything around the timing of Generation 3 was such a good time for Pokemon fans. And I wouldn't have realized it at the time because I was such a little kid, of course. This was before the DS even. Like, it was just my introduction to Pokemon, and I had no idea where it was going to go because I was just a little kid. I was just enjoying what I could enjoy with my Game Boys, you know? I had friends with Game Boy Micros. I had a Game Boy Advance, Game Boy SP. I had all these different things that I would play these games with. How did I get those? I don't even remember getting any of those for Christmas. I'm going to be honest. I got my DS Lite for Christmas. I don't know about my Game Boys. I have no idea where I got those. Probably from my brothers, if I'm being honest, my older brothers. But anyways, moving on to Generation 4. Generation 4 is probably my favorite. I'm not going to lie. The original Generation 4, because this was really where I had... I'm putting them above Emerald, though. Okay, we'll do this. I'm going to put Diamond and Pearl here. Yes, above Ruby and Sapphire, because I love Gen 4. But I'm going to put Platinum above Emerald, because Platinum is the best of both worlds. It's better than Diamond and Pearl because it adds extra content, same way that Emerald does. This is very divisive. Some people are going to like Platinum more than Emerald. Some people like Emerald more than Platinum. It's just a matter of preference on which generation you like more. And Gen 4, I had way more memories with than Gen 3, because Gen 3 I was also pretty young. But Gen 4 was like... I had friends by then that I could play Pokemon with and trade with and battle with. On the DS, I remember having my black DS Lite that I got for Christmas, and Pokemon Platinum or Pokemon Diamond was the first Pokemon game that I really had those amazing memories with, and then it just went on from there. But Platinum is the best of the three. You get all that extra juicy content, and Platinum hands down. Notice how Gen 1 through 4 so far is all nothing but A and S tier. Just wait. Just wait till what we're getting to. So now we're going to go into Gen 5. Gen 5, Black and White. They got a pretty good story. I won't lie. So I'm going to go B tier for Black and White 1. And then we'll go A tier for Black and White 2. I never finished Black and White 2, not going to lie. Don't even own them at this point. I'm not really an emulation guy, but they're really expensive games, and I know they're an improvement upon Black and White 1. So, and I already liked Black and White 1. I mean, N was a really cool character, a great villain. I believe he was the villain. And the story-wise, like, the first 5 generations had really good stories with like villains that felt like a threat in some of them. And that's what made things like just so awesome. Plus the soundtracks in the older Pokemon games would slap so hard. Now, going from there, we're going into Generation 6, which was X and Y. I have very fond memories of X and Y, but I'm going to put them in B tier as well. However, only because I played them more. Oh, someone might kill me for this. I'm putting X and Y above Black and White 1. only because I played them more, had more memories with X and Y than I did Black and White. And I'm sorry if you hate me for that. Again, it's just an opinion. But I have more fond memories, and I go by, like, memory's sake. Like Pokemon X, I put, like, 700 hours into it just because I kept shiny hunting. Like, I don't know why I did that, but I did. So going from X and Y, from Black and White to X and Y, the 3D style was okay. You know, like, I personally didn't mind it. The change, I thought it was a cool improvement. I really liked it. But going from there, I think we went into... I missed a game. I missed Soul Silver and Heart Gold. My bad. Oh, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, they are definitely S tier, hands down. They are really good remakes, really solid remakes. I'm going to put them above Crystal. Fantastic games. I don't have a lot to talk about with them. I don't own either one of them. They are very expensive games. Another couple Pokemon games that I don't have anymore, and I'm fine with it. It's not a big deal, but they're really good games. Really good games, that's for sure. So where were we? Okay, now we're into the 3DS. We're into the 3DS era. So before Sun and Moon, actually no, we got Sun and Moon first, I think. Did we? No, we didn't. From what I remember. We got Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. These are S tier, top tier Pokemon games. I'm putting them above all of these. They are amazing remakes. I'm not putting them above Platinum or Emerald because those games are just amazing. But Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire were what remakes should be for Pokemon games. They are exactly what remakes should be. Because they did everything correctly. Everything right that a Pokemon remake should do. They implemented things from Platinum. Platinum? No. They implemented things from Pokemon Emerald in there, while improving upon everything that we loved about Ruby and Sapphire Original, and building upon it. And they did it in a really good way. Sorry that I'm not going very into detail on things, but I just think that if I were to replay these games, I would love them just as much as ever. They are so good. They were such good remakes. They put so much time and effort into them for the 3DS. The 3DS era had some pretty good stuff. Now, after that, we got Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon, we'll go with C. We'll go with a C for Sun and Moon. They're okay, but I mean, I don't know. They tried something different. They didn't have gym battles, which is fine. I respect what they did, but I don't know. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, I'll put in B tier. I think they're a little bit of an improvement upon Sun and Moon with the extra stuff, but nothing too crazy. Now, going into the Switch era, they're actually missing a couple, so I'm going to add those. All right, I added them in. So now we're on to the Switch era, and this is where it becomes very, very rocky. They started off with Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, because Pokemon Go was a new big thing. Everything, like Pokemon Go was huge, it was massive, and then they decided that they were going to release their very first Pokemon games on the Switch. That was Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. Now, they're fun games, they're okay, but I'm going to give them... Actually, I'm going to bring them up to B rank, and the reason why is because I think graphically they look nice. I think they play nice for what they are. I think they get a little too much hate than they should. I think the Let's Go games are fun for what they were. I think they accomplished exactly what they were out to do. Now, after that, we ended up getting... Wow, we're still missing more. Hold on. Now, I have no idea how they were missing these, but anyways, moving on, we ended up getting Pokemon Sword and Shield. And I gotta say, I had some fun with them, but they did have some rocky frame issues. Graphically, the open wild areas or whatever were not like that special. I don't know. I feel like they're still to this day experimenting with some of this stuff, or just being lazy. We could say lazy. I'm going to put Sword and Shield in C because story-wise, there's nothing very memorable either. Music-wise, though, that gym music, I give them that. I love that gym music. I would replay one of these games just for the freaking gym battles, because those gym battles with that music, it's hype as heck. Scarlet and Violet, Sword and Shield in themselves are not anything that memorable. You know, they're lower. Like you can't put these Switch games up here with like all of this stuff. It's impossible. It's impossible when you look at the stories, the soundtracks, the way that some of the things put into these ones was. It's just impossible. Like, it's just okay. So this happened. I'm sorry. To anyone who likes Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, that's fine. You know, I bought the double pack for these games. And I really thought that I would have that love, that nostalgia that I had for my Generation 4 that I grew up with as a child. But I did not. I beat Brilliant Diamond. I never started Shining Pearl. But they are just not as fun. They're not like the remakes of Gen 3. I feel like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire did so much right that Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl did not do. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl should have had all of the Pokemon Platinum content in them, unless they were going to remake Platinum, which they didn't. It should have had all that content in there and been like I don't know, the chibi style. It was just a remake of the same exact thing. They didn't change anything or do anything different, and I feel like they could have done some things different because Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire did things differently, and those games are fantastic. They're just so phenomenal. Whereas Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, I just feel like they misstepped. They misstepped hard. They really did. I just don't get it. Anyways, I'm not a huge fan of them. The replay value is just not really there. Moving on, Pokemon Legends Arceus. I added this because I truly do feel like it's a mainline game. I really do. Legends Arceus is an S tier. Is it my favorite? Not quite. But it's close. It's in third. I loved that game. I can't put it above Platinum or Emerald, but I can put it above Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And Diamond and Pearl. But Legends Arceus was so good. It was just... Anyone who hasn't played a Pokemon game before, I would recommend that game. I would say, give this game a shot, and then recommend them some of the older ones. Unless they're only on Switch, because some people only have a Switch, they don't have the older stuff. I would really recommend Legend Arceus to anyone. Because it did something different. Finally, they did things differently with Pokemon. They gave us these open zones, not open world, but open zones, where you could hide in the grass and throw your Pokeballs to catch the Pokemon. And then when you go in Pokemon battles, you could run around while your Pokemon is battling. You could throw out your Pokeballs of your Pokemon while they battle and all that. It was really one of the things that we have been asking for a while for Pokemon. And they did some things with that game that was like moving Pokemon in the right direction forward and not backwards. They were finally moving forward, doing something different, doing something new, and it was like, wow, after you get through that tutorial, it's so fun. It's so addicting. I played almost 100 hours of this game, 100% of the Pokedex, got the shiny charm, started shiny hunting. Like, it's really great, honestly. And the first time you experience it, it just feels different. And the story... It's okay, but the post-game story stuff is really, really freaking good. Plus, we're going back to Gen 4, which, again, that's, like, my favorite generation as well, so that was, like, a big thing for me as well. But, like, the story, the post-game stuff, I will never forget that Giratina fight. I will never forget it. It was literally felt like you were playing an older Pokemon game again, where there was actually some form of a challenge. And I think there being a form of a challenge is a big deal. That Pokemon shouldn't just be this childish, easy thing all the time these days. Because you got to understand, Game Freak doesn't get it that, yes, Pokemon is huge even for kids, but the majority of their fan base, especially that's paying for the games, are all adults now. Everyone is adults now that grew up playing Pokemon. They're getting their kids into it as well, of course. But everyone who grew up with Pokemon are adults now, and we all still love it and care for it and want it to be just good, you know? And Legends Arceus really did something for me. It really did something. And the boss fights and stuff, it was just really cool and unique. And I'm really happy they're doing another Legends game. And in the X and Y universe, fantastic. Fantastic idea. And I think as long as they do it right, I also wonder if it's going to launch with the new console. Who knows? But whatever they're doing, whatever they're cooking up, I can't wait to see more, because Legends Arceus is one of my favorite Pokemon games of all time. And then, less than a year later, I'm sorry, but I like them more than these for sure. But Scarlet and Violet just weren't it for me, man. I mean, they're fun, but if you're comparing it to all this stuff, all these other Pokemon games, like Scarlet and Violet are not. The frame rate issues are a huge thing. The story's not. I don't remember anything from it. Soundtrack wise, I don't really remember much either. The DLC was a bit better. I only played the first DLC though. I didn't finish the second one. Just because I feel like I wasn't having as much fun as I was hoping for. I don't know, not hoping for, but like I just didn't have as much fun when I started playing the DLC versus the main game. In the main game, I didn't even 100% the Pokédex. Sword and Shield, I actually 100% the Pokédex. Brilliant Diamond, Shine Pearl, definitely not. But Scarlet and Violet, I understand what they were going for with the open world aspect, and it had some ideas that I like. I like the idea of Pokemon going open world, but so that's what I'm hoping for Legends ZA. I'm hoping it goes with what Arceus did, improve upon it, but build it into an open world instead of open zones, and that graphically it looks nice, and that there's no frame problems and issues at launch with the game as well, because Game Freak never even updated or patched Scarlet and Violet because they didn't care. They get their sales in the first 3 days. They get 20 million sales on a Pokemon game in 3 days. What other company does that in 3 days? None, because Game Freak just has that kind of power. So, I just hope that they make some improvements with what's to come in the future. I hope that the problem is that they were pumping out too much too fast. When they make these games and they bring them out way too fast, it's not good. So they need to pump the brakes, as it looks like they might be actually, and they need to take some feedback, take their time, and release more quality Pokemon than quantity. You know what I'm saying? Quality over quantity when it comes to Pokemon. We as fans will be patient and will 100% be there at midnight launch for a new Pokemon game, like as long as it's good, you know? I mean, Scarlet and Violet, everyone bought anyway, day one. I was there at midnight launch. Like, there was a lot of people. There was like 100 people. But we as fans just want to get more quality out of our Pokemon games, you know? Because we want a good story, good soundtrack, good gameplay, the whole 9 yards. We just want those. What Arceus gave me brought back just fond memories of me feeling like a kid again, playing Pokemon on the handhelds that gave me a good story and gave me an awesome soundtrack and something new and refreshing, and not something rehashed or giving me. It did have its performance issues, but not. Arceus didn't have as bad a performance as Scarlet and Violet, which is crazy because it came out before Scarlet and Violet. But that being said, that's my tier list, guys. I thought I'd do something a little bit different by doing this. It might be a little bit longer, but thank you so much for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know where you would rank any of these, or what is your favorite Pokemon game of all time. What would your tier list kind of look like? I feel like, as you can tell, the Switch, it's gradually gone downhill. Other than Legends Arceus, I feel like it's just gradually kind of not been what it once was. And I feel like us as fans, we want quality. You know, we want something to give us what Arceus gave us, but even better, you know? And if we get that from Legends ZA and we continue to get that, and we don't get Pokemon like every single year and a half, every 2 years, I'd be okay with us getting just really good games. You know, that's all we want. So you don't have to agree with me or my list. You don't have to disagree with my list. It's just an opinion. Thanks so much for watching. Thought I'd do something a little bit different. And I'll see you guys all in the next video. Peace.